Good morning. This morning is Saturday, May 2nd. We're going to be doing, for this class, a really mellow, feel-good flow. So just a really nice way to open up the body in the morning after sleeping. So we won't be focused on any particular body part or anything like that. We're just going to be sort of moving through all the postures that feel really good in the morning, and it's sort of like a full body class. So we'll be doing a little bit of work in the hips, a little bit of stuff in the shoulders, a little bit of spinal mobility. So it's just going to be everything that sort of helps us get the body moving in the morning. It feels really good and gets you just set up for the rest of the day. So you're going to need a few pillows, a blanket, maybe a strap, some sort of strap that we're going to be doing a quad stretch, and you may need to hook a strap around your foot to grab it into your, or to pull it into your hand. So you may need a strap. A blanket or a towel just works just as well. And we're going to get started in child's pose. So in child's pose, we start on hands and knees, and we take our knees as wide as our mat, and we take our toes together, and then we sit back down on our heels, walk our hands forward so far that we can sink our chest down in between our thighs and rest our forehead on the mat. A few options here. If you're feeling like it's tough on your knees, you can place a blanket in between or right in the creases of your knees, so like on top of your calves, so you sit back on the blanket. You can also place a pillow right underneath where your forehead is. So we're going to start here in child's pose, and we'll start to take some deeper breaths to just settle into the practice and settle into our mat. And when you're in child's pose, think about sending your breath as you inhale into your back body. So each time you inhale, you feel your rib cage on your back rise and expand. And with each exhale, you feel yourself sinking a little bit further down into the mat. See how long you can extend the length of your breath. Maybe you count up to 5, maybe you count up to 6 or 7 or 8. You inhale, and then as you exhale, counting down from that same number, equal length in the inhales and in the exhales. Really drag out the breath. And each time you feel like you're at the top of the breath or at the bottom of your exhale, see if you can inhale just a little bit more and exhale a little bit more out. Really taking the deepest breaths that you have taken yet today. Opening up space in your torso each time you breathe in through the nose. And each time you exhale, releasing as much of that breath as you can. Imagining as we inhale that we're gathering all the energy that we've sort of had built up, all of the stress that we've had built up over the past week. Imagine that we're gathering it with our inhale breath. And we're holding on to it at the top of our inhale breath and squeezing up into this little tiny ball. And then as we exhale, we're releasing every single piece of that energy. We're just releasing it out of your nose, out of the breath, letting it go, letting it pass through us. Whatever you're holding on to, just release it and let it go. On your next inhale breath, start to walk your hands over towards the left side of your mat. You can lift your forehead off the pillow or off the mat and just take your full body with you. So we're taking our hands over towards the left and off of the mat. If you feel like you're open enough in the side body, maybe stacking the right palm on top of the left. And then placing your forehead down. You should feel a nice opening in the right side body. And then as you inhale, see if you can send your breath into the left side of your belly where it meets the thigh. Continuing to take those deep breaths in and out through the nose. And then as you exhale, on your next breath, walking your hands back towards center. And then as you inhale, we're walking your hands over towards the right, off of the mat, towards the right side. And then if you can stack that left palm on top of the right, and then releasing the forehead down on the mat, taking deep breaths here, opening up the left side body. Feeling the breath expand the rib cage on the left side as you inhale. And on your next exhale, start to walk your hands back towards center. Take a deep inhale breath and press up into tabletop position. So in tabletop, our shoulders are stacked directly over our wrists and our hips are directly over our knees. Your knees are about hips width distance apart and hands are placed about shoulder width distance apart. On your inhale breath, you're going to start to drop your belly and your ribs down towards the mat, lift your tailbone up towards the ceiling, pull your chest through your shoulders, broaden at the collarbones, and then tip your gaze up towards the ceiling for cow pose. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to round the back, tuck your tailbone towards your heels, pull your low belly in, puff up the upper back by pressing firmly into the palms, and then take your chin into your chest for cat pose. Inhale, start to drop your belly and your ribs, lift your tailbone, lift your gaze, pull your chest through your shoulders, and broaden at the collarbones. And then as you exhale, take your tailbone down towards your knees, pull your belly in towards your spine, puff up the upper back, round and curl, chin is into the chest. Inhale, cat pose or cow pose, dropping the belly low, lifting the tailbone, chin, and chest. And then as you exhale, round and curl. Just move through a couple more rounds of these, following the breath, letting the breath guide the movement. If you feel called to any additional movements as you're going through these, maybe swaying side to side, wagging the tail, you can add those additional movements there as well. And really exaggerate these movements as much as possible as you breathe. Go ahead and move through one more round. We're just taking this nice and slow this morning. Eventually making your way back to tabletop position with a neutral flat spine. Take an inhale breath and start to reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. So left palm is still planted. Start to make circles with the wrist. Just warm up the wrist as best you can, reversing the direction of the circles. And then take an inhale breath, reach up a little bit higher, straighten the arm. And then as you exhale, you're going to thread your right arm underneath your left armpit and across to the left side of your mat. Drop your right shoulder in the center of your mat, and then your right ear in line with the shoulder. So right ear, right shoulder is flat on the mat in the center of the mat. You can keep your left palm right here as it is, or you can start to walk that hand forward towards the front of your mat, straightening the arm and the bicep in line with the ear. Other option is to bind the left arm around your low back and tucking your fingers on your upper right thigh. So a couple options there with the arms, but taking care to only twist from the upper back, the thoracic spine here. So we want to have our hips and our sacrum square to the mat, and you can actually feel this in your sacrum if you put your hand on your low back, noticing if it's flat or if it's curved or if it's turning open in one direction. So we want a flat and parallel sacrum to the floor. And then press into the right shoulder and the right forearm and the right hand to open up your shoulders and your collarbone towards the left side of the room. So we really only want this twist to come from that thoracic spine. And we're taking deep, deep breaths here. Take one more deep breath. And then as you exhale, placing the left palm right underneath that left shoulder, starting to press into that left palm to reach your right arm back up towards the sky. And then just make a few circles with the shoulder, with the arm. Just rolling out that shoulder, reverse the direction. And then when you're ready, placing that right palm down, back down on the mat. As you inhale, reach your left arm up towards the ceiling and start to make circles with the wrist. So as you can see, we're taking this nice and slow, nice and easy. Reverse the direction of the circles. And then take an inhale breath, find a little bit of stillness, reach up a little bit higher with that left arm. And then start to thread that left arm underneath the right armpit, dropping the left shoulder down to the center of the mat and the left ear down to the center of the mat. You can keep your hand here, or if you'd like, you can walk that hand forward towards the front of your mat, placing the palm face down so that the bicep is right in line with the ear. Or the third option is to wrap the right arm around your back and tuck your I keep saying toes. Tuck your fingers into the top of your left thigh. Press into the floor with your left arm to roll those shoulders open towards the right side of the room. Take your left shoulder away from your ear as much as you can. And then see if you can square your hips and your pelvis to face the floor so that the twist is really only coming happening from the thoracic spine. And we're taking deep breaths here. One last breath here. And then as you exhale, place that right palm right underneath your right shoulder. Start to press into the right hand. So lift the left arm back up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to just make a few circles with that arm to open up the shoulder. Breathing deeply, really exaggerating the movements. And then reverse the direction of the circles. And eventually placing the left palm back down on the mat. We're going to start to take our right leg out towards the side. So left or the right foot should be right in line with the left knee. You're just going to start to walk yourself back, and you may need a blanket right underneath your knee here. I'm actually going to get that. So we're going to walk our foot out so that we're sort of in this kickstand pose. Don't really know what it's called, but you're going to have your foot right in line with your left knee. Then you're going to take your arms up overhead, clasp your hands together. Take your hands together so that only your pointer finger and your thumbs are released. So you kind of have like finger guns here. And then just take your arms overhead, pull your belly in towards your spine, and start to press your left hip forward. Take your tailbone down towards your heel. So we're kind of tucking our tailbone under so that our pelvis is neutral to the front of the room. Take an inhale breath and reach your arms up a little bit higher. Maybe you look up. And then as you exhale, we're going to start to tip over towards that extended leg. So we're doing another little side body stretch, warming up the spine. You should feel this in the left side of your body. Taking deep breaths in through the nose and deep breaths out. As you inhale, start to come back towards center. Start to walk that right or toe heel that right foot out towards the front of your mat. We're eventually making our way into a low lunge. So arms are still overhead. Sorry. Yeah, arms are still overhead. We're in this low lunge. And then I really want you to think about, again, we're trying to press our hips a little bit forward. So those front hip bones are trying to press them forward and up towards our shoulders. And our tailbone, we're trying to take down towards our knee. So I want, rather than thinking about tilting the pelvis forward and into a low lunge like this, I want you to come right over that knee, that left knee, and see if you can take that pelvis into a more neutral, straight position. So we're in a low lunge here. You may need a few props in this next pose. We're just going to start to come back and forth into half splits. So I like to have some blocks to place my hands on. You can also use pillows or something that, basically just raises the ground up so that you don't have to be crunched over just coming in and out of this pose. So I like to have some blocks. So we're in a low lunge with our hands on props or the hands on the floor if you can reach. Start to walk your right foot a little bit farther forward. So I'm just inching it forward, and then I'm going to straighten that leg and flex my foot. And I'm even going to slide my right heel even further towards the front of the mat. So I'm in this half split pose, and now I've widened my stance a little bit by scooching my right heel forward. So I'm in this half split, and I'm really leading and folding forward from the chest. I'm not crunching over here. I'm taking my sternum forward and trying to keep a flat back. And then I'm just going to start to bend into that front knee. And I'm going to come in and out of this, breathing as I do. So inhaling back to that half split and exhaling into a low lunge. Inhaling to half split and exhaling. So this should be a nice hamstring stretch in the right leg and a little hip flexor stretch in the left leg. Making sure to connect your breath to the movement. There is no yoga without the breath, so it's really important here that we continue to breathe as we make these movements. And then whenever you come back on the half split, see if you can pull your toes back towards your shin. You should feel a nice little stretch, extra stretch in the calf when you do that. And you'll notice that I'm trying to keep my back as straight as possible as I move in and out through this. We're going to find a little bit of stillness here. Untuck your back toes under and just start to lift your knee and then place it down. Lift the knee and then place it back down. So we're just gently warming up the body. It should feel pretty nice in that left hip flexor as well. One more round of this. Keep that left knee down, untuck the back toes. We're going to come back onto our knees into tabletop position. So then we're going to start to we're going to do this on the opposite side. So take your left foot out. Take your left foot out so that it's in line with the right knee. And then we're going to start to rise up. Arms come up overhead. Hands are clasped. And then release the thumb and the pointer finger. See if you can press that right hip forward and up. And take your tailbone down towards your right knee. And then see if you can pull your belly and your navel in towards your spine. And then pull your ribs together. See if you can take your shoulder blades down your back so that you have plenty of space between your shoulders and your ears and your neck is long. Take an inhale breath, reach up a little bit higher. And then as you exhale, we're going to start to tip over towards that extended leg. So a nice side body stretch on the other side. And breathing deeply here. See if you can keep your shoulders square towards the front of the room. So we have a tendency to sort of drop that right shoulder down and take the left shoulder behind us. See if you can keep the shoulders square towards the front of the room. Another deep breath here. And then slowly start to rise back up. We're going to toe heel our left foot towards the front of the mat and find that low lunge position. So we're in low lunge to start. See if you can find that more neutral pelvis, right? So rather than letting our pelvis tilt forward, see if you can take your tailbone down towards your right knee and your front hip bones up towards your shoulders. Find your props. We're going to start coming into those half split and low lunge movements. So you might need to walk your foot a little bit farther forward to eventually make your way into that half split. But I want you to try to keep a 90-degree angle with this back leg as you're in this half split. The more that you straighten the leg and the more that you flex the foot and take your toes back towards your shins, the more that you're going to feel this in your upper calf as well. So just some things to keep in mind there. We're going to start to inhale and come forward. And then as you exhale, press back, half split. So starting to make those movements as you breathe. Breathing in into half split. And exhaling, coming forward to that low lunge. You should feel this in the left hamstring, the left quad, and the right hip flexor. Try to keep your back as flat as possible as you move in and out through these movements. Go ahead and move through a few more rounds. And then tuck your back toes under. We're in that low lunge. Just going to start to lift the knee and then drop the knee. lift the knee, and drop it. Taking these movements with your breath. So this is a little bit of a, this should be feeling pretty good in the right hip flexor. Couple more rounds. And then release that. We're going to take our props out of the way. Take your right foot back to meet your knee. So you're back in tabletop. Start to walk your hands towards the front of your mat. So you're not quite in tabletop, but your shoulders are forward, hands are forward. Tuck your back toes under. Start to lift the knees to straighten the legs. Press your chest back towards your thighs. We're coming into downward facing dog. So I want you to check your whole body here. See if your shoulder or your hands are placed shoulder width distance apart. Spread your fingers as wide as they go and press into the knuckle mounds of your fingers. And then start to spin your biceps up towards the ceiling and your triceps down towards the mat. So we're rotating our arms in that direction. So inwards and up, right? So biceps go up, triceps go down, ears are next to the biceps, your gaze is towards your toes. Pull your belly in towards your spine. Pull your ribs together. So you're almost making a cow pose with your back as you're in this downward dog. See if you can sink your heels down towards the mat. Your feet are hips width distance apart with a slight micro bend into the knees. So we don't want to lock out the joints here. We also have a slight micro bend in the elbows. So we want this pose to come from our muscles, not by sinking into the joints. So we don't want to sink into the wrists or sink into the elbows or the knees. And you may, feel that in the beginning. If you're having trouble with this pose, you may feel like this is really hard on your shoulders, it's really hard on your wrists. See if you can engage those muscles by pulling your belly in towards your spine, squeezing the thighs, squeezing the glutes, and then activating the upper arms and the shoulders and the serratus anterior muscles by rolling the biceps up and the triceps down. So that's where the strength of this pose comes from. Start to walk your feet forward. Actually, no, we're going to shift forward into a high plank position first. So we're in high plank. If this is tough for you, just lower the knees. But we're going to hold high plank. And we're going to start to tap our shoulders. So just a little bit of a core work here. So see if you can sit your hips low as you do this. You may take your feet a little bit wider here, so as wide as your mat. And then start tapping opposite shoulder with opposite hand. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to lower all the way down to our bellies. Take your arms wide like a T. I'm going to turn to face you this way. So our arms are wide, forehead is down, legs are straight behind us. Take your left palm and place it right at your left rib cage and start to press yourself up onto your right side. So we're rolling onto our right side for a nice little shoulder opener on the right. So you may just stack your legs on top of one another. If you're feeling a little bit more open, you can take that left leg, bend it, and place the left foot behind your right knee. Rest the right ear onto the ground. And you can stay here for a few breaths. Just opening up the shoulders. One more deep breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to start to roll back onto our belly. Extend the left arm straight out next to you. And then take your right palm next to your right ribs. start to press yourself up on your left side. And again, just either stacking the legs on top of one another or taking that right leg, bending it and placing your right foot flat on the mat behind your left knee. And we're just breathing here in this twist and this shoulder opening variation of a twist. One more breath. And just slowly start to roll back onto your belly. So we're on our belly. Take your hands to your rib cage, tuck your back toes under, and then two options here. You can press back up into high plank and then move into downward facing dog, or come onto hands and knees and tabletop and then move through downward facing dog. So take an inhale breath, and then as you exhale, make your way back to downward dog. Take a deep breath in, downward dog. And then we're going to start to walk our feet forward towards the front of our mat. As you inhale, come into a halfway lift. So halfway up means we're just rising halfway. You place your hands on your shins or your thighs and find a long, straight, flat back. So long, flat spine. And our gaze is down towards the mat. Weight is more in the toes of our feet. And then as you exhale, we're going to fold forward, taking our feet wider than hips width distance. Start to bend the knees and let your rib cage rest on your thighs. Grab opposite elbows. Shift your weight into your toes and the balls of your feet so that you can get your hips over your heels. And then let your upper body just hang down towards the floor. Squeeze the glutes together. Squeeze the thighs, the hamstrings, to make sure that you're supporting yourself. I'm even pressing into my toes here to really feel that stability and the support from the ground. Take an inhale breath through your nose here. And then as you exhale, we're going to transition out. We're going to start to slowly roll all the way up to standing, keeping the knees bent, and your neck comes up last. Shrug your shoulders into your ears as you rise. And then take your shoulder blades down your back as you exhale. Okay, so we're going to just move through quick sun salutations, really slow, nice standing sequence, and then we'll already be cooling down. So it'll be just a mellow class. As you inhale, start to reach your arms up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, I want you to start to pull your elbows down towards your hips and backwards. So take your, start to pull your shoulder blades together and down your back. So we're just coming into this nice little mellow shoulder opening, chest opening, a little bit of a back bend. So we even take our sternum up towards the ceiling and look up as we do this. And then as you exhale, this is the exhale. We're taking an inhale breath and reaching our arms back up and then bowing forward to a forward fold. As you inhale, come into that halfway lift, so finding a flat back. And then as you exhale, you're going to plant your hands down onto the mat, step back into a high plank. We're just going to lower all the way down to our belly. Untuck your back toes. Take your shoulder blades together again. Take your elbows together behind you. Press into the tops of your feet. Squeeze your glutes. Squeeze your quads so that your kneecaps lift off of the ground. And then start to peel your shoulders and your chest off of the mat using the strength of your back with little to no weight in your palms. Roll the pinky side edge of your foot down towards the mat. And then your gaze is about a foot in front of you, or a foot in front of your mat. So on the ground in front of your mat. And then as you exhale, we're going to place the forehead back on the mat, tuck our toes under, and then your transition here, either pressing back into high plank and then downward dog, or tabletop to downward dog. So just easy, mellow Vinyasa flow here. So take an inhale breath through the nose. And then exhale out. Walk your feet forward towards the front of your mat. As you inhale, come into that halfway lift, finding a flat spine. And then as you exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. The arms come up overhead as you inhale. And then as you exhale, start to take those elbows down. We're like in a goalpost position or cactus position. Our sternum and our chest are reaching up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale, straighten the arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, we're bowing forward. Inhale, come into that halfway lift. Find a long, flat spine here. And then as you exhale, planting your hands on the mat, stepping back into high plank, and then lowering all the way down to your belly. Untucking the back toes, come into that cobra pose. Pressing into the tops of the feet, kneecaps are lifted. Chest and shoulders are lifted off of the mat, little to no weight in the palms. Gaze is a foot in front of your mat on the floor. And then exhale, release, forehead back down. Tuck your back toes under, make your way to downward facing dog. Inhale, breath through the nose. And exhale, breath out. Inhale through the nose once again. And as you exhale, start to walk your feet forward, back towards the front of your mat. As you inhale, come into that halfway lift. And then as you exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise to standing, come all the way up, arms sweep up overhead. And then as you exhale, we're goal posting those arms again, lifting our chest up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, straighten the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up halfway. And then exhale, plant your hands, step back, high plank. We're going to lower all the way down to our belly. Untuck our back toes under. Inhale, low cobra. And then exhale, forehead back down. Tuck your back toes. Make your way to downward facing dog. Deep breaths in and out through the nose here. One more breath. And then as you exhale, walk your feet forward. Inhale, come up halfway. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Arms come up overhead. And then this time, just take your hands in prayer in front of your heart. Just step your left foot back. We're coming into a low lunge position. So we are going to lower the knee. So you may need a blanket under your knee here. We're just going to lower the knee all the way down. And we're going to come into a twist. So I have my hands on the floor right now. You also can use those props. We're going to come into a twist, and we're eventually going to reach back for our quad for a little quad opening stretch. So this is where you may need a strap as well, or a towel will work too. But I'm going to use the prop on the inside of my my right foot, and then reach my right arm up for a little bit of a twist. I'm just sitting here. I'm staying in this twist for now to see if I can open up my shoulders and my collarbones to face the side of the room before I reach down and grab for my foot. So see how deeply you can get into this twist to start. And you may need to walk your right foot out even further to create a little bit more space between your legs here. When you're ready, you can start to bend that left knee, reach back, and grab the top of the foot. And then you peel your shoulders open again towards the side of the room, finding that twist. And then it's really important here to see if you can shift yourself forward on that left knee so that you're resting more onto the top, or the bottom of the left quad. So rather than being on the kneecap, see if you can come forward and shift yourself forward. And that actually should, it should be an even like deeper quad stretch when you do that. But I want, rather than like resting right on the knee, see if you can roll off of the knee on top of the quad instead. And we're just holding here for a couple breaths. Again, my hand is on that prop, you can see it there, so that I'm not quite so crunched over in this twist. So you should definitely feel this in the inner right groin. You should definitely feel this in the left quad. And then in the right shoulder. It's just an all-around yummy pose. Very, very slowly without flinging that left leg back. Let the left foot go. And we're going to come back to center to a low lunge. Keep your back toes tucked. Lift your left knee off of the mat. And we're going to rise all the way up for a high lunge. So we're in a full high lunge position. Start to start to drop the left heel down towards the earth so that your left foot is at an angle. We're opening up for warrior two here. So when we do this, our shoulders and our torso are going to start to spin open to face the left side of the room. Line up your right heel to your left arch. So your front heel should be in line with your left arch. Shoulders and your torso are completely facing the left side of the room. But then I want you to think about taking your right knee and taking it out towards the right side of your mat. So rather than letting it knock in, I want you to take it out. See if you can wrap your inner thigh of your right leg up towards the ceiling. So we're wrapping it up and we're trying to wrap our outer glute and our outer right thigh down. So it's sort of this spinning movement of the thigh here. And then with your arms, they come straight out in a T position. Palms facing down. Shoulders are relaxed down the body and away from the ears. Start to see if you can take your tailbone down towards the mat. Pull your front hip bones up towards your shoulders. Pull your belly and your navel in towards your spine and draw your ribs together. Try not to let those ribs flare out. Front knee should be in line with the front arch. And then your gaze moves forward. Take an inhale breath. And then just straighten that front leg. Start to reach your right arm forward, like somebody's grasping you with your right hand. Start to reach your arm as far forward as it goes. And then you tip forward for triangle pose. So in triangle, you may need a prop right here, or you can rest your hand right on your shin. But we're turning our shoulders and our entire torso open to face the left side of the room, and our left arm is overhead. Take your right shoulder away from your ear so your neck is long. And then you should feel this stretch like right about here, like in that left hip, like upper left hip, and into the side body here. So we're in triangle pose. Take a soft bend in that right knee, so I don't need to lock out the knee here. And then you're going to start to turn your toes forward to face the side of your mat. Take your left arm down to your heel, and we're coming to a wide-legged forward fold. So soft bend in the knees here. You can grab your shins, your ankles. And then we're just folding forward. Take the weight into your toes so that you can get your hips over your heels. And you're reaching your hips forward. And then press into the inner edges of your feet, and especially your big toes here. Squeeze your glutes together, squeeze your quads together. One more deep breath in. And then we're going to slowly start to rise. Take your hands to your hips, come up halfway. Bend the knees a little bit more, and then we're going to rise all the way up. Then we're going to turn our left foot to face the front of the room and release the right heel. So we're coming into low lunge on the other side. Drop that left heel down, or the left knee down. So we're just going to do that same thing that we just did, but we're just turning around in the other direction. So you may need to adjust your computer or whatever you're watching this on, but we're just doing the exact same thing that we did, but we're turning around to face the back of our mat. So we're going to find that twist. So set yourself up here. Your right knee should be down, maybe on a blanket. You have your right hand on a prop if you have one. And then, yeah, so left leg is in front, right leg is back. We're going to start to open up in that twist with the left arm up overhead. See if you can open up the shoulders and the collarbones to face the left side of the room. And then you may need to scoot your right knee back a little bit further so that you can get more on top of that right quad instead of the knee. Start to bend the knee, take your heel towards your glute, your right heel towards your glute, reach your left arm back and grab your right foot. And then come back into that twist. So left arm is grabbing the right foot, the top of the right foot. And then simultaneously press your foot into your hand and pull your foot pull your foot with your hand and press your foot into your hand. So it's like this opposite or equal to opposite resistance. And then see if you can shift yourself forward onto the quad rather than onto your right kneecap. Open up your shoulders to face the left side of the room. Continue to twist open. This should feel pretty good in the quad, pretty good in that inner groin on the left side, and pretty good in the left shoulder as well, and in the spine. Take one more deep breath here. And then just slowly start to release that foot without flinging it down. We're going to come back to face forward, tuck our back toes under, lift our back knee up, and we're going to rise for a high lunge position. So left knee is forward, right leg is back. High lunge. And then start to turn that left foot, drop your left heel down so that it's at an angle. We're going to set up for warrior two on the other side. So check to see if your your front heel, your left heel is in the same line as your right or back arch. Bend deeply into that front knee so that your right knee is on top of your left. Turn your whole torso to face the right side of the room. Yeah. So your whole torso is faced the side of the room. Then take your left knee and move it backwards. So we're trying to push our knee out rather than letting it knock in. And then see if you can wrap your inner left thigh up towards the ceiling, and then your outer right thigh and your outer right glute down. So we're sort of wrapping it in this direction, all the while we're keeping our shoulders stacked right over our hips. Arms come out to a side like a T, palms facing down, shoulders are away from the ears. A lot of pressure in that outer edge of that right foot as well. I keep mixing up my rights and lefts. And then gaze moves forward. Take an inhale breath here. And then exhale, just straighten the front leg. And then like somebody's has your left hand, start to reach forward as far as you can go. And then you tip forward for triangle pose. So arms are still wide open like a T. Shoulders are still facing the right side of the room. And then hand is either on the shin, on a prop. But you want to see if you can keep, rather than getting like I can reach all the way down to the floor, but look what's happening in my spine here. It's like curled over. So I come up here so that I can keep my spine straight. And then see if you can continue to twist open, taking that right shoulder back. And then we're going to turn our toes to face the side of the mat. And we're coming into that wide-legged forward fold. This time, clasp your hands behind you. And then straighten your arms as much as you can and take them overhead.
Bring your weight into your big toe mound of your feet. Press through the inner arches of your feet. Take a soft bend in the knees and squeeze your glutes together. Squeeze your outer thighs together. Let your neck hang heavy. Take your shoulders away from your ears. And then very slowly start to release the grip of your hands. Take your hands to your hips. Start to rise halfway up. And then all the way up. And then turn your toes. We're going to turn our right toes, right foot out to face the front and release the left foot. So this time we're in a high lunge with our right leg forward. So we're turning back to face the front of our mat. You're going to place your palms flat on the mat to frame your front foot. Step back into high plank, and then we're going to lower all the way down to our belly. Okay, so let me get this blanket out of the way here. Our last little position here, we're going to take our hands and clasp them behind our back. Press the pubic bone, the tops of your feet into the mat. So both your pubic bone and tops of the feet are into the mat. Clasp your hands and extend your elbows straight as they can go. And then we're going to start to lift our chest and lift our feet off of the mat. So rather than thinking of lifting up, think about lifting or think about reaching behind you. So think about reaching the toes backwards, reaching the arms backwards, and the crown of your head forwards. Take an inhale breath here, and then exhale, release. Take your hands next to your rib cage and just press yourself up and back into child's pose. So take your knees wide, forehead down, and just breathe here. You're going to slowly start to rise back into tabletop pose. So we're in tabletop. I want you to take your right knee and slide it up to your right wrist. Take your left knee and start to slide it back. And then you're going to take your right foot and start to shift your foot so that your right heel is sort of right below your left hip flexor. So we're coming into pigeon pose if you haven't realized, but I'm just, using my foot to get my heel right underneath my left hip flexor. Keep your right foot flexed and then drag your right knee back even further. So this is just a more gentle way to come into a pigeon pose. So check back at your left heel. Make sure that it's pointed directly up to the ceiling and not turning in or out. So this often will happen where your sort of outer edge of your foot rolls down. Try to keep the top of your feet flat on the mat and your heel pointing directly up towards the ceiling. And just keep your chest moving forward at first. You may need a pillow underneath your right hip. So if this is really uncomfortable and it's a big struggle for you, definitely place a pillow underneath your hip there. And then go up onto your fingertips, squeeze your glutes together so that you can get light and you can actually find a little bit of buoyancy here. So I'm squeezing my glutes and I'm pressing into my shin and I'm pressing into the top of my foot here to keep myself a little bit lighter. And then fingertips come back down. See if you can square that left hip off to the front of the room. So instead of kind of staying open like this or rolling your left hip up, see if you can roll that left hip down towards your heel. And then place your palms back, flat back on the mat. Start to draw your left knee up again towards your right heel. And then come back to tabletop pose. Now we're going to do it on the other side. So start to drag your left knee towards your left wrist. Start to drag that right knee and that right foot back. And then start to toe heel that foot. It's not really toe heeling, it's just sort of shifting, wiggling that left foot so that your left heel is right in line with the right hip flexor. Maybe you drag that right knee back and that right foot back even further. So we're in pigeon pose on the other side. Check back at your right foot. Make sure that the heel is pointed right up to the ceiling. Keep your left foot flexed. You might need a pillow right underneath your left hip here. Come up onto your toes. I'm sorry, not your toes. Come up onto your fingertips. Squeeze your glutes together and press into the shin of your left foot, or shin of your left leg, and then the top of your right foot, so you can get a little bit of lightness. You can totally take your arms and your hands off of the mat. So I really want you to engage your body when you're in this pose. Engage your glutes. And then we come back down onto our hands and let ourselves sink a little bit further. Take another deep breath. And then start to drag your right knee up towards your left heel. And then just take your left knee back. Okay, so we're gonna come to sit on our back. Just make your way down to your back. Soles of the feet are flat on the mat, hips width distance apart. Take your hands at your sides with your palms facing down. Start to scoot your tailbone towards your heels so that you can reach down and graze your heels with your fingertips. So palms are down, soles of the feet are flat on the mat, hips width distance apart. Start to press into the feet to lift your hips up high for bridge pose. And then wiggle your shoulder blades together underneath you so that you're resting more on the shoulders and less on your cervical spine. Using the strength of your quads and your glutes, lift your hips even higher by pressing into the feet, pressing your feet into the mat. And deep breaths here. If you want to go a little bit further, you can clasp your hands behind your back and continue to wiggle your shoulders together. Lifting your hips up even higher, pressing into the back of the head to keep the neck long. And seeing if you can get your hips higher, any amount. Keeping your knees straight, so not letting your knees knock in or out. Take a deep breath in. And then very slowly, we're going to come back down to our backs. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, draw your knees in towards your chest. Take them out towards your armpits. Reach down with your hands to clasp, flex the feet and clasp the outer edges of your feet. Take your feet directly over your knees and then take your knees into your armpits for happy baby. Press your tailbone down towards the mat. And then maybe you rock side to side. See if you can work that tailbone down towards the mat as much as you can. And then press the feet into the fingertips and then pull your feet down with your fingertips. So again, we're creating that equal opposite resistance. And then very slowly start to release. Take your knees into your chest and just make some circles with your knees to massage the sacrum. Reversing the direction of the circles. And then take your arms out wide like a T and start to drop your knees over towards the left. If you find that your right shoulder is lifting off of the mat as you do this, place a pillow underneath your knees. And just stay here for a few moments. If your neck allows it, you can turn your gaze to face your right arm. And take deep breaths here. Slowly start to turn your gaze back up towards the ceiling. And take your knees back to center, drawing them into your chest for a moment. Letting your spine reset. Take an inhale breath. And as you exhale, drop your knees to the right. If your left shoulder comes off of the mat, place a pillow underneath your knees. If your gaze allows it, or if your neck allows it, turn your gaze to face your left arm. Very slowly start to turn your head back up towards the ceiling. And then take your knees back into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins and then just curl yourself into a tight little tiny ball, taking your forehead towards your knees. Just rock side to side for a moment. Take a big inhale, breath through the nose. And then as you exhale, we're going to come into our final resting pose. And you have two options here. You can come into Shavasana in a normal way with your, or corpse pose, right? So this is normal corpse pose with legs extended out in front of you. Or if you're by a wall and you want to take legs up the wall, I also really like to end class with legs up the wall. So, and it feels really good just to be inverted. It's a nice restorative pose. So if you're at a wall, you can scoot your right hip all the way next to the wall and then just lay down on your side so that your sit bones are literally pressing up against the wall. And then roll onto your back from here, keeping your sit bones against the wall, and then just straighten your legs. And then take your arms out by your side. So I actually recommend and encourage this if you're at a wall, if you can get there. And just be here for like 5 to 10 minutes. And just let your body just relax completely. So again, if you're at a wall, please stay here as long as possible or take your normal corpse pose, Shavasana. And just let yourself relax. Let your eyes grow heavy in the sockets. Remove the crease from your brow. Relax the jaw. Remove the tongue from your roof of your mouth and just let it settle in the back of your throat. Notice if there's any areas in your body that you're holding on to or gripping. And just letting that go. Please stay here as long as you'd like. If you're in legs up the wall, the way that you exit is just bending into your knees and coming into a fetal position on your side. So just stay here as long as possible and enjoy this moment of relaxation before you start your Saturday. I'm just going to mute the video, but please stay here and enjoy this. And thank you for joining me this morning.